While it is true that the majority of species are considered to be uncommon, it is important to note that they do not fall into the category of being exceedingly rare. After more than a century of observing nature, a consistent pattern in species abundance has been found. The majority of species are uncommon, but not exceedingly so, with only a select few being highly prevalent. This pattern is known as global species abundance distributions and has been fully uncovered for certain well-studied species groups, such as birds. However, for other groups like insects, this pattern remains partially obscured. A team of researchers led by the German Center for Integrative Biodiversity Research, IDIV, the Martin Luther University Halle-Wittenberg, MLU, and the University of Florida, UF, have published these findings in the journal Nature, Ecology and Evolution. The research highlights the importance of biodiversity monitoring for detecting species abundances on Earth and for comprehending how they fluctuate over time. Charles Darwin posed a query in his pioneering work, The Origin of Species, over 150 years ago. What causes one species to have a vast range and abundant population, while another closely related species remains scarce with limited distribution? A corresponding obstacle has been to comprehend the distribution of global species abundance, GSAD, which entails distinguishing between common, popular species and those that are rare. Throughout the last century, there have been two central models proposed regarding the global species abundance distribution, GSAD. R.A. Fisher, who was both a statistician and a biologist, suggested that the majority of species are exceedingly rare and that the number of species decreases as they become more common, known as the log series model. Meanwhile, F.W. Preston, an ecologist and engineer, asserted that only a small number of species are genuinely uncommon and that most species possess a moderate level of commonality, known as the log normal model. Despite years of investigation, scientists have yet to determine which model accurately represents the actual GSAD of the planet. In order to address this particular issue, an immense quantity of data is required. The authors of the study appropriately utilized the Global Biodiversity Information Facility, GBIF, to collect data. They were able to obtain data on more than 1 billion observations of various species in their natural habitats, spanning from 1900 to 2019. According to Dr. Corey Callahan, the primary author of the study, the GBIF database is an incredible tool for biodiversity research. This is largely due to its ability to unite information gathered from both amateur and professional scientists from all corners of the globe. Dr. Callahan initially conducted this research while employed at IDIV and MLU and has since transitioned to the UF. Callahan and his colleagues conducted research by categorizing the downloaded data into 39 different groups of species, such as birds, insects, and mammals. They proceeded to gather the global species abundance distribution, GSAD, for each of these groups. Upon analyzing the species abundance distribution, the researchers observed a pattern that may have a universal application. The majority of species are uncommon, but not exceedingly so, while a small number of species are highly prevalent, as postulated by the log normal model. Nevertheless, the researchers also discovered that this pattern is only fully apparent in certain species groups, such as cycads and birds. In contrast, for all other species groups, the data currently available are insufficient to draw conclusive results. As the senior author and head of research group at IDIV and the MLU, Professor Henrique Pereira notes, the lack of adequate data can often create the illusion that most species are exceedingly scarce. However, as more observations are recorded, the picture begins to shift. It becomes evident that there are actually more rare species than extremely rare ones. This shift in perspective is especially pronounced when analyzing data on cycads and birds, comparing the available data from the early 1900s to the more comprehensive species observations we have today. This phenomenon is quite intriguing as it demonstrates the unveiling of the entire species abundance distribution, as predicted by Preston many decades ago. This has only now been proven at a global scale, making it a truly fascinating phenomenon to observe. Callahan expresses that despite decades of observation, only a select few groups of species have had their secrets revealed. He acknowledges that there is still much to learn in the field of biodiversity research and monitoring. However, he believes that GBIF and the sharing of data is the way forward for this field. Through the findings of the latest study, scientists can now gauge the extent to which global species accumulation curves have been uncovered for various groups of species. This brings researchers closer to finding an answer to a question that has long been asked: how many species exist in the world? The study reveals that while birds and other groups have almost all been accounted for, other taxa like insects and cephalopods have yet to be fully explored. The researchers are of the opinion that their discoveries might provide some insight into Darwin's query of why certain species are rare while others are common. The underlying pattern they discovered in their research may indicate broad ecological or evolutionary mechanisms that dictate the prevalence or scarcity of certain species. As humans continue to alter the planet's surface, the abundance of certain species is affected, leading to a decrease in the frequency of once common species. This makes the researchers' mission even more complex. Not only must they comprehend the natural evolution of species abundance, but they must also understand how human activity is impacting these patterns concurrently. It may take some time before Darwin's question is satisfactorily answered. To support our channel's growth and ensure broader awareness, kindly hit the like and subscribe buttons. This will help us reach more individuals and disseminate valuable information. Thank you in advance.